Thanks for coming on the show today. Just let's just kick it off and tell everybody kind of like what your thing is, and I'll just hit you with a bunch of questions and we can just have a discussion about all that good stuff.
Sounds like a plan. So, my name is Tony Russo. I'm the author of Dragged into the Light, Truthers, Reptilians, Super Soldiers, and Death Inside an Online Cult. It's the story of Sherry Shriner and the people around her who believed in the reptilian conspiracy, among other things. But the reptilian conspiracy was a large part of their belief system. Um, as the result of her teachings and the culture that she created, because it was this culture of like exposing other people as reptilians. So someone in the cult would expose another person in the cult of being a reptilian, and in one instance that led to a suicide, and in
Whoa.
another instance it led to a murder or a killing. I like to
What?
say killing because whether the girlfriend, I can tell you this story briefly.
Yeah, please.
So Stephen Mineo and Barbara Rogers were members of this cult, and Sherry Shriner, the leader, accused Barbara Rogers of being a reptilian witch super soldier.
What year was this?
2017.
Oh,
Uh,
dang.
and Barbara and Stephen was really kind of Barbara's first girlfriend ever. She was 42 and he was 32. So he had this older woman that he was really attracted to. So usually when Sherry accused someone, no, sometimes when Sherry accused someone, they would actually leave their husband or wife or girlfriend to follow Sherry. And I actually spoke with a couple people who decided not to get into relationships with people who thought Sherry was, bananas out of her mind. So um she accuses Barbara, and Stephen gets furious and he starts attacking her online. He starts attacking her credibility. He starts calling her a false prophet. And she said, Barbara will destroy you. And then, a month later, Stephen and Barbara had been drinking and using drugs and were out in the back of their trailer shooting a handgun. Um, at one point, they went back inside, and this is where it gets tricky. Um, the Eventually, Stephen ends up on the floor holding a gun to his head over Barbara's hands. So Barbara's pointing the gun directly at him. He has his hands over her hands on the barrel, and the gun goes off. And then everyone says that, yes, she was a reptilian. This proves that she was a reptilian and that she assassinated Stephen just as Sherry had prophesied. And so Sherry got this huge boost, and that's my book. My book takes apart the whole series of events.
Holy crap. That is intense, man. Um, so as you know, the show's called Lizard News Network.
Uh-huh.
It's
I'm surprised this one got past you.
and yeah, it's kind of a joke, but it's also some people actually believe that stuff. And I don't know, I don't think it's real, but there are some weird things that are unexplained and some things that can't be explained, like a lot of politicians that are super demonic, if you ask me. And if you look at the WikiLeaks, they talk about spirit cooking and calling kids pizza and like, oh, the pizza's ready, and the hot tub is ready with the little kids and stuff like that. And John Podesta's got like weird marks on his hands, and it's like, what the fuck is going on here? What did Julian Assange expose? And as you know it, the news brushes it under the table, and it becomes a conspiracy theory, even though there's tons of emails explaining all this stuff. And so that's the kind of the joke on the lizard thing. But there are a lot of weird conspiracies and things going on that no one knows really what the hell is going on.
Well, from my perspective, I put the reptilian conspiracy right along with any other religious belief, and I don't happen to have any religious belief. I'm sorry. It's not that I don't happen to have any religious belief. I don't have any religious belief. And so it's, for me, one of the things that I argue in the book, and one of the things that, has kind of played out in real life, it's that just dismissing the conspiracy as crazy misses the point. I don't know if it matters whether there are reptilians or not. What matters is that people believe that there are. And increasingly, that is, that's a problem. I don't know if you know, but the Nashville bomber, the Nashville Christmas bomber, he had spent his weekends, in the woods fighting reptilians. Sherry and her folks would go into the woods and fight reptilians, and they genuinely believe they did. On a more tragic note, I don't know if you saw the Reptilian Murder just 2 weeks ago, I think, a week
The
and a half
Reptilian
ago.
Murder.
Yeah, so this gentleman killed his 2 children, claiming
What?
that they had reptile DNA from their mother. And again, we want to say that this is just crazy, but one of the real difficulties with this story for me is that for this guy, he said he knew he was going to jail. He knew he was going to get caught.
Yeah.
And he knew that he was going to jail, and he knew that everyone would think that he was a monster
Yeah.
for killing his children, but he needed to save the world. And if you think of in popular culture how often that happens in the movies, I don't know. Are you familiar with The Dead Zone? Did you ever see the movie The Dead Zone?
Stephen King?
Yes, the Stephen King book.
I've seen it, but it's vague. It was quite a while ago. Maybe
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll go through the premise, because for your
Yeah.
listeners who may not know, it's an older
Right.
movie. The Omen also has something similar in it. So in the Dead Zone, the main character is a psychic. He has psychic powers. When he touches someone, he can see their future. So he meets this senator and he touches him, and he sees that this senator becomes president and starts a nuclear war, World War III, ending life on Earth. And he plans to and attempts to assassinate this guy, and we're rooting for him. Like in the world of the book, this guy is a crazy person with a gun trying to kill a politician, but in the world of the reader, we know that he's doing the right thing. We know that he knows he's going to go to jail, but he's going to do the right thing. And so it seems a lot less weird, although no less horrible, because we're not, we as a culture don't really address the belief. We dismiss the belief. If you want to, I guess, if you want to wear, ashes on your head on Ash Wednesday, that's perfectly normal for, a third of the population to be walking around with dirt on their head all day. And because we believe that they believe that it helps, right? Yep. But we don't believe that people really believe in reptilians until they do something awful. And I'm not saying we should attack people who believe in reptilians, but I think that we should take the belief seriously. And then I think we should take it apart like we take any other religious belief apart. Because again, as a non-believer, if you tell me I have a soul, or if you tell me I have a soul that is possessed by a reptile, it means the same thing to me. Nothing, but that's not the case for everyone. And I recognize that when I deal with people, when I mean, there are people with faith in my life. I realize that there are people of faith and that their faith makes them act. And, it's always good to encourage people to question their faith. People always say, as long as you're not hurting anybody, it's okay with me. I don't I don't necessarily agree with that. What I would say is if it doesn't make you meaner, if it only makes you better, then I don't have a problem with it. But when we look at the way that people practice religion, it's rarely to make people feel better. It's to make people feel excluded. It's to make people feel less than human. It's to, it's to impinge on people's ability to make their own decisions. And in a simple way, like here in Maryland, I can't buy a car on Sunday because it might make God upset, and that's fine, but you really are not hurting people that way. You're making me believe in your religion, whether I want to or not. And so, whether it's for me, and again, for me, whether it's reptilians or whether it's Jesus Christ or whether it's Thulu or whether it's, I don't know, Zeus, those are all the same to me. And I don't want to have to follow anybody's ecumenical rules.
Okay. I would say that I don't agree with some of that. And I think that I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if you've listened to any previous podcasts, but I am actually a Christian. I feel like it has made my life better. I have gotten sober. I'm 10 years sober next year, and I feel like I, did it through Christ. And
And I commend you for it.
mhm.
I'm not saying that you didn't. I'm not saying that in any way. I'm
Yeah,
saying that if you come to my house and take all my booze because you want Christ to get me sober, then you're not being nice.
yeah, that's
You
me infringing my belief on you, and
that's
and
that's where it becomes a
yeah,
problem.
and see that I don't accept. I don't want to infringe my belief on you. I could tell you, hey man, I think you're wrong, man. I think you're wrong. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. We can't prove how life existed. We're living in this little tiny speck of a ball, and everything's perfect, and space is perfect, and everything, and we're living, and it's unexplainable.
Hmm.
I would say that there could be a God. Something could create this. I don't think. I mean, you don't look at an iPhone in the woods and say, "Oh, over billions of years, the iPhone created itself
I
through
understand all.
chance."
Yes, no, I do. I understand all of those, and I don't disagree fundamentally. Um, but there are two things going on.
Mhm.
One, is there a God? Yes, that's
Well,
fine.
before we continue,
Oh,
are
I'm
you
sorry.
an atheist or agnostic
No,
or
I'm
what?
I'm 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 an atheist. I do
Okay,
not have I do
I've
not
been
have
cool. I've
belief. Go
been
ahead.
wanting to actually have an atheist on my show for a while. I've been having a
Uh,
hard time getting one.
I'll be on whenever you like. Because
Awesome.
I'm comfortable speaking with people of faith.
Yeah.
I don't begrudge anyone their faith, but there are a
Do,
lot of different
do
steps. Go ahead.
do you think that maybe since you haven't experienced faith, that's why you haven't? It's basically like if you saw a room and you didn't know what was behind the door, and you
Oh
never
no,
opened
no.
that door.
Yeah,
So
no. I came up. Well, I came up Catholic. I
Mhm,
also came up Protestant. I studied religion in college. I was very interested in Eastern religions for quite some time.
mm,
So I understand them.
yeah.
And what happens to people who lose their faith, I think, or my own personal experience, is that, so let's, if we say that there's a God, fine, but I don't think that we have any evidence to go any further than that. We certainly don't have any evidence, in my experience, that says God wants me to not buy a car on Sunday. Like, I'll stipulate that there's a God, but I can't accept that he would be hurt if I bought a car on Sunday.
Isn't that the same though as you saying, "Hey, I can't go in your house and take your booze"? Well, you can't go to the car salesman and say, "Hey, sell me a car."
Yes, but I'm sorry. So where I live, it's illegal to sell a car on Sunday. Like if I had a car dealership, I couldn't be open on Sunday.
Yeah.
F-
Well,
For
are you sure that that's because of religious reasons?
Yes, and they're called blue laws. They're all over the country. They often involve alcohol. You
Yeah.
can't buy booze on Sunday, for instance, or you can't have a liquor store near a church.
Mm.
Things like that. When your belief in God bleeds over into legislation based solely on your belief, I don't like that. I have a problem with that. And what's weird, especially as we keep knocking heads against, for example, the Middle East, is people are terrified often of having Islamic law imposed, and they don't know that we already have Christian law imposed.
I
And
would argue one's better than the other, though.
yeah, and I would argue that it doesn't matter, because it's,
Well, in
again, for
Sharia
me,
law, they'll
it's
kill you if you draw Muhammad.
it's all fictitious, though. And that's where it becomes
But again, that's your
difficult.
opinion, though. God could be 100% real, and you just
Yes,
don't like. Just because you don't believe in God doesn't mean that there's no God.
correct. But I'm sorry. Let me stipulate that there's a God,
Okay.
that he wants something from us, and that he wants specific things from us, and certainly that he wants Christian things from us rather than Muslim things from us, doesn't follow from there's a God. Like, the only thing that follows from there's a God is there's a God. We can't, I mean,
I
and
know what you're saying. I mean,
that's
there
one of the
could be a
teachings. We
God,
can't
and
know his mind.
yeah.
And I find there is a God and we can't know his mind. And again, I have to ask you, why aren't we allowed to teach about contraception in Maryland schools? Because
Contraception.
it's again, it's for religious reasons.
Well, I
Um,
mean, what are you talking about? Teaching little, adolescent kids about sex? I don't think
no, and
anyone.
no, they can't teach about it in high school.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
it sounds weird to people. Are you out west someplace?
I'm in Texas, man.
Oh,
Where?
I don't know how common it is, but I remember how shocked I was when I moved to Maryland, and I
Well,
found out that was a
yeah.
law.
Isn't everything just a law based on somebody's beliefs? You know,
Well,
technically.
no, no. And this is where I also tend to agree with tend to disagree with Christians,
Hmm.
with people of faith generally. Don't steal is older than any conception of God.
Not
Don't murder.
necessarily. Not
Oh, no.
necessarily.
Yeah,
I
no.
mean,
I mean, there was don't steal. The Greeks had don't steal. You know,
but the Greeks had gods too.
right? But they didn't say that their gods were actually more like the gods that I talk about. Like, their gods were like soap opera characters.
Huh.
They weren't interested in particular people for a reason. Like, they might screw with you,
Do
but
you,
they would just screw with you because they were bored.
do
Not
you think that is in us all? The mind, God, because it's God says He's in all of us. We are one with God. Maybe that's just our human nature, is to be considerate and kind and not steal or murder
well,
and stuff like that
right, but
naturally.
it's not necessarily in our nature not to murder or not to steal. I mean, that's obvious. We do murder and steal. I
Yeah.
think that it's in our nature to abhor murderers and thieves, which is different, which has to do more with, if we want to live in safety and security, we have to be able to trust one another. If we find people that we can't trust, we have to have them removed from the group. That, again, that works whether or not, there's still, for example, um laws in, in non-Christian countries that are still like don't steal and don't murder. So that's where it kind of comes apart for me. And again, what we're talking about here is the distinction about whether having to follow Muslim rules or having to follow Christian rules
Yeah.
are
Well,
better or worse.
well, you could look at, all you have to do is look at America and look at Middle East to
An
see the
interesting
answer,
point.
to find the answer,
Well, I would, that my tendency is to agree, and on the face of it, everybody's like, yes, it should sound that way, but historically, that's not the case. So Islam is 600 years newer than Christianity.
Yeah.
And so if this is 2021, right?
One.
Um, and so if you deduct 600 from that, then you have the 1400s. And what was life like in the 1400s? Well, it was ruled by an iron fist with the church. Adulteresses were stoned to death and burned. All of the things that we abhor in Islam are exactly what Christianity was doing at that part of their development.
I agree, but there's the key word though, development.
Right. So
Muslims kind of stayed behind. They're still like in the
no,
barbarics.
they're only 600 years in. They're 600 years behind us. So in another 600 years, then, or probably I guess in another 200 years, then it will become friendlier, I guess. I mean, you know, we tortured our last witch in the 1600s here, you know.
Yeah.
So in the 1600s was just
Around the
400
corner.
years ago.
Yeah, that's nothing.
And so if you look at how religions come to power and become dominant, they do it first with force and fear, and then with inclusion and exclusion. But I'd like to talk about my book real quick because
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I went on a tangent, and I could talk to you about for 10 hours about that.
We're going to go back there right now because
yeah,
this is something they believed, and I want to know if you believe it.
Real quick, how much time do you have?
I would like to, if we could keep it under an hour and a half, I can go an hour and change.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I'd like to have you back on though, because like I said, I've been trying to find an atheist, and I love to talk about it.
That's fine. I'm comfortable and I'm not I'm not offendable really.
Yeah, because I want to hear other perspectives on that type of deal.
So do you believe that Paul the Apostle was working for the devil or working for God?
Remind me of the Paul story.
Okay, so Paul was on the road to Damascus.
Yes.
And he was blinded by God.
Right.
Said, "Why are you persecuting me?" And then he went, and then he converted to Christianity.
Right, because he was able to see again, right? I think.
Right, exactly. And then he went on to write most of the New Testament. So most of the difference between Christianity and Judaism is because of Paul. And now what?
And Christ.
Well, no. That's just the thing. Because of Paul, for instance, Paul is the one who said you can eat shellfish and you can eat pork. He's the one that did away with the Jewish rules. And, you know, Christ famously said, "I didn't come to give new law." And the question for Sherry and her people was, well, what if the devil was the one who convinced Paul of all of these things? And that's why Paul tore down all of the Jewish rules that now kind of define more liberal Christianity. And she believes that, and her people believe that, most of the New Testament was technically written by the devil. The Gospels were written by God. And, you know, the books from Peter, because I don't know if you know this or not, but Peter and Paul famously didn't get along. Peter, who actually had met Christ, didn't like the influence that Paul was trying to wield over the Christians. And so they had a huge problem with one another. And the whole time Peter was like, "I literally saw Jesus and you're just making all this up." He didn't say any of that. And Paul's like, no, God inspired me to tell everybody the real truth. And Peter's like, "I hung out with Jesus for 3 years. I don't agree." And that is kind of where, you know, it's, again, from the outside, I don't think any of it happened. So
as far as it not happening, how far are you going to go with that statement? Didn't any of it happen?
Well, I believe Paul was the first, you know, religious con man. I don't believe that God, you know, inspired him. I'm not sure God inspired anybody. I'm sure that they were inspired. Again,
I feel inspired by God, though.
Absolutely. You do. And I don't begrudge you your inspiration. I do.
But that doesn't. But then that tells me that, hey, they could have easily God could have easily inspired Paul. You know?
He very well could have, and I'm not saying that he didn't.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that Sherry Shriner, that there are
Yeah.
people who believe that he didn't, and they believe that there are Christians as well. And there are a significant number of, anyone who goes to church on Saturday instead of Sunday goes
Hmm.
for that reason.
Why?
Because the Sabbath day is Saturday.
Oh yeah, in the Jewish law, right?
Right. And
Right.
again, God didn't change that. The main reason that Christians go to church on Sunday was as kind of a, fu to the Jews. They don't go on Sunday because God told them to. As a matter of fact, they go on Sunday even though God told them to go on Saturday. And so all of these little changes to what had been traditional Christianity in the first 30 years, as far as people tend to understand it, make people suspicious about, the veracity of Paul's claim to have even met God. Which is, here are the two arguments. Argument number one, Paul is inspired by God and he says it's okay to eat pork. Argument number two, Paul was tricked by the devil and he says it's okay to eat pork. And so whenever Christians eat pork, they're violating God's law and they don't even know it.
That's interesting. I do have a third one though.
Go ahead.
I think maybe that you know, pork and shellfish and stuff, if you don't cook that correctly, you can get very sick. So they probably weren't, cooking it right, and they were all getting sick. So they're like, well, hell, maybe we shouldn't eat this.
Yeah,
And
there is an answer to that. I'm sorry. Again, I just happen to study this. I don't want to be a jerk.
No, you're not being a jerk.
So
I do like those two ones you threw. Those are that one's wild. I didn't think that. It's like a controlled opposition almost. Like if Satan, but if that were the case, then Satan's winning, I guess.
and that is exactly how Sherry Shriner got so many followers to send her so much money.
Yeah. Oh, Satan is winning, if you ask me right now.
They were trying to get the help. The prevailing theory about the pork ban. The pork ban is actually older than the Hebrews. It's from the prehistoric tribes who became the Hebrews had the pork ban, and the prevailing theory is it was coaxing people away from cannibalism. Because apparently people taste a lot like pork. Whoa. So there are ancient rabbinical digs, archaeological stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry for saying stuff. I just can't think sites. There are ancient archaeological sites that show that the rabbis were probably eating the burnt pig offerings that the people were leaving for God. So the likely idea was that pigs were too much like humans. And one of the things about religion is part of the belief is always going to have some sort of cultural influence over your life.
Sure.
What you eat and when, who you marry and when, what type of sex is okay, when it isn't okay, things like this. And again, all the religions have them. This isn't even just poking out Christianity. There are, every religion has, sexual prohibitions, dietary prohibitions. For a long time, I grew up Catholic. For a long time, Catholics didn't eat meat on Fridays ever. And then they dialed it back to just during Lent.
And I never understood that either. I was like, I don't think that's that important,
Well, the idea was that it was supposed to be to demonstrate
40 days.
A little tiny bit of sacrifice.
Right. Like 40 days and 40 nights, like Christ sacrificed. Didn't eat.
Right, but it used to be all year. It used to be every Friday you didn't eat meat. Yeah. And you said, you did that to show God your fealty.
I always told my friends, don't give up meat, give up something hard. Like booze or TV or something, something you don't gonna miss, something you're gonna miss,
Right. Well, it's meat and something. So you can't have meat on Fridays ever, and you also have to give up sweets or whatever.
Yeah.
And Sunday is a cheat day. I don't know if you know that or not. Sunday after church. So if you give up candy, let's say, you can have candy after communion, after you've taken communion on Sunday. And so the thing is, so the dietary prohibitions from Leviticus are just a part of establishing the rules for how Hebrews can tell one another apart. And then Christians were following all of these rules until Paul told them to stop. I mean, Christians, including Peter, were following all of these rules until Paul told them to stop.
So it's basically like people just trying to do their best version of God, or their best version of civility or rule of law. You know what I mean? Like no matter which way you spin it, we're still humans trying to figure it out.
I absolutely agree, and thank you. Thank you for saying that. But my inspiration sometimes is different, and where our inspirations oppose, we're going to have to say that neither one of us is right. We're certainly not going to be able to say that you're right enough to stop me from living my life. And that's where, again, it gets,
So how does it feel being an atheist?
I don't really think about it very often.
Really? Do you feel liberated, or do you feel
well, it's the opposite. No one forgives me. Like, if I'm mean to someone, I was mean to them that time, and I don't get that back. No one's going to forgive me from losing my temper and being mean. I have to stop. I have to change myself and try to be
repenting.
less mean.
Yeah, well, no, because repenting.
But I don't have to. I don't repent for fear.
Yeah, I repent is basically just stop doing things.
No. But repent.
You're living out the Christian doctrine.
Well, so the idea of repenting is that you get square with the person, and then you get square with God as well. I don't do the get square with God part, and sometimes I don't do the get square with the person. There are some people that I don't like, and I was mean to, and I wish I hadn't been mean sometimes, but for either practical or ego reasons, I'm like, well, that person's out of my life and I'm done with them.
Yeah, and I do that too, that's a human thing, if someone wrongs you.
Absolutely. The notion of ethics, I think, kind of transcends the notion of God. The notion of figuring out how to be and then being that way is enough to keep me on my moral toes, I think.
Yeah, but you're also living in a world, or you're also living in a Christian nation that you have to abide by Christian rule, basically. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, like you said, no, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, stuff like that is
right. But for example, I don't have to live in a Christian world. For like, if a place is closed on Sunday just because they're Christians, I don't ever shop there. If a place puts a cross on the front of their store, I don't ever shop there. And I would direct them to whatever it is, Matthew 6, be not like the hypocrites. Don't go around saying what a great Christian you are. Just be a great Christian. So when people are going around saying what a great Christian they are, I understand that they didn't get to that part of the Bible, I guess. So overtly, and not even overtly Christian, overtly religious places I don't do business with. And I don't follow Christian laws except where I'm prohibited from buying a car on Sunday. That's the easiest one. I happen to live on the Delaware state line, so even though there's a prohibition against buying alcohol on Sundays or before noon or whatever, I actually lost track because I just go to Delaware where they don't have those same prohibitions.
So let's talk about that book a little bit more.
I'm so sorry.
No. Like I said, man, I want to talk about your book, and also, man, I feel like I could talk to you for freaking hours because I've been waiting for someone to come on that doesn't agree with me and as opposed to what I believe, because I like to think things through, thoroughly and hear other people's perspectives and stuff. But the lizard thing blows my mind, dude. I didn't know that there was actual people in a cult believing. I know people believe in lizards, but I didn't think that they were like going as far as starting a freaking cult.
Oh yeah,
You know,
no, and again, and committing murder.
is it a big group?
I'm sure it's a lot smaller now. So spoilers for anyone who reads the book,
Yeah.
Sherry's dead now. So
Oh.
the cult leader dies at the end of the book, and at the end of the story.
Mhm.
So, but her family has kind of repurposed her teachings, and they keep on putting out, her prophecy. So if there's something in the
Oh.
news that Sherry had already spoken about, they'll say this is when Sherry predicted that this would happen.
So she's like a prophet?
She claimed to be God's daughter.
What?
She claimed to be the descendant of she claimed to be the descendant of King David, and then she
Holy
claimed
shit.
to be Jesus's sister. There's a book that she wrote, and
I gotta see this lady.
and well, yeah, you can look her up. There aren't a lot of pictures online. She was very camera shy. The pictures that are online now, I think that you can find 3 if you look really hard. But her notion was that, I'm sorry. So her family has taken over, I'm sorry. Her notion was that she and Jesus and the devil all played together when they were like baby angels before time.
Is she like mentally unstable, or was she on like psychotropic drugs, or?
No, I think that she was mostly just a liar.
Yeah.
She ended up making an okay living doing it.
Right.
And
that's enough motivation right there.
Well, and also this is the part I love to say this. I've said it before, so I apologize for repeating it. But this is the part where I sound like I'm defending Alex Jones.
I love Alex Jones.
So once upon a time, Alex Jones had this dinky little radio show.
Yes.
And for all sorts of reasons, a lot of people blame YouTube. I think that is a credible claim. Alex Jones became a millionaire. And so all of a sudden, he can't just walk away. You can't.
Right.
Once you're that committed to anything, you can't walk away. And I feel like I don't think Alex Jones believes in reptiles. I don't think David Icke believes in reptiles.
Really? I
why
kind of think he does.
So we had this guy just killed his 2 children.
Yeah.
Why hasn't David Icke taken a shot at the Queen? Because he's a coward.
I haven't heard him say anything about it.
Yeah,
I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it. Period. I haven't heard any of that. I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Such a thing as what?
Of that cult or that guy killing the 2 kids. I didn't know about that at all.
There are people with blood on their hands for killing reptiles. David Icke isn't one of them. That makes him a coward and a liar.
Yeah, he should come out and say like,
he should take a shot at the Queen. Every day that he doesn't try to kill the Queen is another day that he proves that he doesn't really believe that she's a reptile bent on world destruction. If you knew that, like Christopher Walken knew it in the movie I was talking about earlier.
You're saying okay. Oh, you're saying if David Icke thought that lady was an actual lizard,
he would kill her.
So she's claiming to be a lizard, or that other guy was calling her a lizard?
No, Icke claims that the Queen's a lizard. Lots of people.
Oh, the actual Queen.
The Queen of England, yes.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I get it now.
Right? And I mean, you believe in your heart that this is the person who will destroy the earth, and you let them live. You don't even have the same courage as that guy. That guy killed 2 of his children.
Yeah, that's
because
harsh.
he really believed they were lizards. David Icke is a liar and a coward.
But you got to remember, like, I think David Icke, he takes a lot of shots, and every once in a while he'll hit on something that's probably true. But the majority of the shit he says is, it's pretty far out there.
Right, but you went to work today. I went to work today.
Yep.
David Icke didn't go to work today.
Well,
Alex Jones didn't go to work today.
Why?
Well, because he just sits and makes things up. Like we're sitting here and we're having a conversation.
Alex Jones credibly doesn't make stuff up. Like I listen to him a lot, and this dude, I swear on my life, every time he says something crazy, I'm like, no way, that's impossible. No freaking way. And I look it up and it's true. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I don't know how many times he's been right. He's been wrong, But I mean, when we're talking about white papers and stuff that like political things that we know are true and we can look up ourselves and find, to be true,
Go ahead.
stuff like that is real, and that's why he has a lot of followers, because he says, hey man, what about building 7 that fell on 9/11? I'm like, what the hell's building 7? I look it up. There's a freaking building that falls perfectly right next to the Twin Towers that weren't even touched. And that's when I was like, oh shit, kind of
One
type deal.
of the things that I know we can agree upon is that the people in the government do not have our best interests in heart.
For sure. And that's his main sentiment.
And so there are several things that could follow from that, the first being that they're just greedy, mean.
For sure.
The second thing is that they're greedy, mean people, and they're also part of this larger reptilian conspiracy. I don't think we need the reptilian conspiracy to realize that people who are very wealthy don't follow the same rules as people who are not very wealthy. It doesn't need that. You don't need to be a reptile to get away with that.
I would think more it's an NWO type plan rather than a lizard person type plan. You know what I mean? That's a little bit out there, but definitely the NWO for sure. I mean, we're seeing it in play right now, dude.
Well, my concern when we talk about the NWO is this idea that there's a larger plan, and that it's coordinated.
Absolutely.
So here's my NWO.
Explain that one away for me, Tony.
in everyday life pitch. So I like to watch baseball sometimes. No, I like to watch baseball, but I really just like to watch the Mets.
Okay.
Sometimes I can't watch the Mets because they're on ESPN.
Yep.
And it's blacked out, and I don't have cable. So practically speaking, ESPN should have closed a decade ago. ESPN isn't a profitable organization. No one watches it. When anybody
Disney bought them, didn't they?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. When they put things on, people just complain about how awful their coverage is. Right? There's nothing good about.
Yeah, it's
ESPN.
all political now.
It's also one of the biggest parts of your cable bill, right? So people are propping up cable because they don't want other rich people to have to be less rich. But that's not a conspiracy. That's just people looking out for their own. And it's not good, and it's not nice, and it's certainly not productive for us as a species. But again, I don't think that you need to add the layer of an additional conspiracy to say that the government lies, rich people are mean and shady. Yeah, they are.
Well, I mean, conspiracy just means to conspire in secret.
Right, and that I don't think that occurs.
Well, when you have several world leaders saying we need to build back better and we need a new world order and we're not going back to normal and your life is never going to be the same, and we're all working together to lock down the world and vaccinate the whole entire country, that sounds like a damn coordinated plan.
Lock down the world and vaccinate the whole country. To what end? I'm working on a book, my next book,
what is it?
It's well, I can tell you a little bit. It's a war memoir from I'm working with a Army Ranger,
awesome,
to tell his story. And we talk a lot, and we're really, I think we've become friends. And he one day said to me something about the government coming to take his guns.
Yep.
And I said, and he said, I'm ready. I'm like, yeah, you're ready, but I'm not. Like, who's the government going to send? Are they going to send an accountant? Or are they going to send
the brown shirts, man?
Well,
the brown shirts.
But who really? Like, if they're not going to send the army, then they're not going to get the guns. If they are going to send the army, then the guns, then they don't need legislation.
If they're going to send the army, right? they're
Like
gonna
this
get rid
guy I
of the
talked to,
Patriots. Yeah.
everyone on my block has
Mhm.
guns. This guy I
Yes.
talked to could personally disarm my entire block without breaking a sweat.
Yeah.
I mean, what's always interesting about the gun debate when we talk about taking guns,
Hitler took
like
the guns.
that's
Uh,
just not true.
yes, it is. Yes,
So
it is. Mao
the
took the guns.
the shortest answer is that
That's the
that's
game
not true.
plan, dude. That's the game plan. You take the guns so they can't resist, and then you freaking run roughshod over them. That's the playbook, dude. That's the Taliban. That's what the Taliban's doing right now.
No, everyone in that country had a gun, which is why we had to leave.
What country? Oh,
Afghanistan.
yeah. Well, I mean the warriors, you know,
No,
but there are
everybody
normal
had,
people there though.
and they all
There
had
are,
AK-47s
so
for
Taliban
personal
takes their
protection.
guns. Well, then
Nope.
why are the Taliban kicking everyone's ass? You would think
Well,
that there would be a force to fight the Taliban.
that there's no reason.
Civilians.
It's again, it's unfortunately again a question of religion. You know, it's
But they're the same religion.
it's two things that it's two things that you're fighting against.
Hitler took the guns, dude.
That's fine.
Can you explain to me how that's not true?
It's too involved.
Okay, we're gonna have to we gotta do a couple.
We'll save
more
that
these,
for
man.
next time.
Yeah, we need to do a couple more.
Next time, how Hitler didn't really take the guns by Tony Russo. Let me get a sip,
dude.
all out.
Okay,
Of
let
water.
me ask you this:
Okay,
if I were to take over a country and I didn't want no one to oppose me, what would be the first thing that I do? What would be the best thing rationally to do? If you didn't want no opposition, no fighting, what would be the best thing to do? If I wanted to enslave a country.
well, to what end though?
To murder them.
To just murder them and have them dead?
Yeah, that was Hitler's plan.
Well, that wasn't at all Hitler's plan.
His plan was to murder the Jews completely.
No, his
plan was to eradicate the Jews.
His plan was to gain. So
okay, I got a perfect example. Ask me that. I'm gonna tell you this, and I want to see your opinion.
Okay.
Towards the end of the war,
okay,
Hitler was losing the war. It was lost. He was gonna lose, right?
Right.
So instead of putting his best foot forward and trying to rally the troops or do anything like that, you know what he did instead? He said, ramp up the killing of the Jews. Continue to kill them all. He said, you know what? We're going to lose. Let's go ahead and go over here and keep killing these guys, and let's just wipe them out as many as we can. Now, if his goal wasn't to kill them, then why did he do that? He wouldn't. If he would have lost, if he knew he was losing, he'd be like, fuck it, we lost. It's over, you know.
Well, the hope I think was to destroy the evidence, and to to do what he said that he was going to do.
Yeah, wipe out the Jews.
Well, yeah, I'm not, but that wasn't, the Jews weren't the point.
Sure, they were.
No,
he said that the Jews were dirty, and that they're spreading disease, and they're ruining Germany, and we got to get rid of them.
Yes, he was. So Germany was very, very poor at the time, and they didn't have immigrants to blame. They had to find a minority to focus popular anger on so that they could better control the government. I mean, what Hitler did more effectively than anything else was start making movies. That was how Hitler took over Germany.
With propaganda?
He started making radio shows and
propaganda.
He started making movies.
Right.
And
but obviously it wasn't just world domination, because he probably would have got the Jews on his side if that was the case. He's like, no, we got to wipe out the Jews and take over the world.
You can't get internal power positively. You can't get that kind of internal power positively, right? So we need to focus on this ethnic minority so that, or actually religious minority. We have to focus on this religious minority so we forget about how hungry we are. we have to get mad so that when we start to make these incursions, we feel implicated, right? And so you have to be, by the time you're either not hiding either turning over your neighbors because they're hiding Jews, or just refusing to hide Jews, you become part of the crime. And then once you're implicated in the crime, you're committed to the end all the way. Otherwise, you were wrong from the beginning. And at the risk of bringing it back to my book, that is one of the things that motivates people more than anything else, is this terror of having been wrong, of having sounded stupid.
I agree with that, because they would say, you know, what's that quote? It's better to know you, or it's better to accept it's better to accept the lie than to accept that you've been lied to, you know?
Exactly.
Because
yes.
it's harder to say, oh shit, I was duped.
Exactly. And how far do you take that? Well, the
To
guy in my
grave, I
book,
guess.
the guy in my book literally took it all the way to his grave, you know?
Yeah.
He, when it came down to it, he couldn't live in a world where Sherry Shriner was a liar. And so he took drastic measures to kind of try to recreate that world where Sherry wasn't a liar, and he wasn't able to do it, and it drove him over the edge. And so what I worry about, and when I talk, you know, I worry about this commitment to being right over the commitment to having like a better understanding of how things are working. What I say, my bumper sticker line is, if you haven't said I'm wrong in more than a month, you're probably an asshole.
Yes.
I
agree.
You know,
those are my favorite kind of people, are to be, and that's humility, and that's you know, swallowing your pride, basically. Again, back to the Bible about, you know, being prideful and falling on your face, you know, for too much pride.
Yes, you if you're not, you have to, it makes sense to be willing to be wrong.
Yeah, and I wish our president would do that, because that dude will not accept any wrongdoing for anything, you know. And most of them won't, you know.
I was about to say, I've never heard
A president say,
a president, you know, I've never heard a politician really admit a mistake.
Right.
Like,
any
because
politician.
if it's something that's already in the news, there's no margins in admitting it's a mistake. It's easier, and it's always like this, it's easier to keep people like you and I shouting at one another,
Right.
so they can pick our pockets.
Mm.
And I mean, I think that's a place where where you and I have common ground. You know, there's the, I don't know how to solve the problem, and I don't know if I can,
man. We all need to come to Christ.
Finger on it.
Maybe
But
that's the answer.
Well, I mean, again, you're going to find that everyone says they believe in Christ, and no one agrees what that belief means, you know?
Yeah.
And again, that goes back to, all right, there's a God. We, you know,
I guess it's the fear of God, what we should all, you know, be accepting, you know, because if you were afraid of God, you know, a lot of people would change their tune before they shot someone or stole from somebody, or, you know what I mean?
I don't think that anyone, like this guy who killed his kids, right? I don't think that anyone does the wrong thing with full knowledge that they're just completely wrong. I believe everybody thinks they have a good reason for doing what they're doing. So again, there's no way to, I mean, we've proven this over the last 2,000 years with wars and murders. There's no way to agree upon what Christ wants of us. If there were,
well, it's simply in the Bible, we just don't follow it, you know.
well,
it's the 10 Commandments.
Of course that's Old Testament.
Yeah, well, loving God and loving thy neighbor, and, you know, being like Christ would basically, I mean, it seems simple enough.
Yeah, but yet, you know,
try to
the
get the whole
Protestants
world
and
to
the
believe it,
Catholics
you know?
killed one another
Yeah.
in Ireland for
Yeah.
ever.
And the Templars, and and the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition.
Oh, I
you
heard a
know,
cool Templar conspiracy the other day.
hit me.
I'm so sorry. I wish
Oh,
I
you.
had.
I
It
want
was
to hear.
something like they all came back. They had all converted to Islam while they were there,
Uh-huh.
and then they did something creepy when they came
Oh,
back. Something to undermine,
huh.
to
Let me know if
undermine
you
the
ever
the
remember it.
Pope. I'm so sorry. It was.
So,
I saw that, and I'm like, someone's gonna
yeah.
ask me about that. I should remember it, but then I forgot.
Yeah, you got to write that one down when it comes back to you. So, what do you think about? So, you're telling me, Tony,
Yes,
that the whole freaking world, we've wasted thousands of years on religion when we should all be atheists
millions, but yeah,
and have no,
tens of thousands.
and have almost like Anton LaVey style, do what thou wilt. You know, live in sin and live in indulgence and, Aleister Crowley style.
Well, I don't know if that is the case. I don't know that that's how people would be. Um, I I don't, for example, preach atheism.
Okay.
Um, I don't I don't want to I don't want to change your mind. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to change anyone's mind in so much as like I want them to stop believing in God and just say there's no such thing as anything
Yeah.
and be like me. I don't desire that. I don't know if that's a I don't know
Right.
if that's a world that any of us need to live in
Mm.
right now.
Yeah.
But I would like to help people challenge their accepted religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like almost every time I write about religion, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
seems like you know about stuff. You know.
and I want people to, if it makes you mean,
Mm-hmm.
then stop.
Yeah.
And so you said you're in recovery. One of the things that I've said, because I've known some people who drink a little too much. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a
I'm
person who
one of
drinks a
them,
little too
or I
much.
was one of them.
But there are people who drink and get mean,
That's me.
and that boggles my mind.
Dude, I
Like,
get mean. I get rage. I rage, dude.
so I'm glad you stopped, because that's what I always say. Like,
That's what all my friends say.
if it's gonna make you mean, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, if it's gonna make you walk around hugging people and crying and telling you how
Yeah.
much you love them, yeah, then drink yourself into stupor. I don't care. But if if you're gonna go pushing people and throwing
Right.
punches,
Yeah.
then you're not getting the desired effect. If the desired effect of religious belief is to be more loving
Yeah.
and to be kinder, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But once you're like, I can't be loving or kind to this person because they think God wants something different than I think God wants, that's where I would invite anyone to just review their beliefs.
Yeah. Just think it through, man.
And
Yeah. And I agree. I think people should do that also.
if you're using religion as a weapon to hurt people, I can assure you you're doing it wrong.
For sure. I
Um,
agree with that also.
and I don't need a reason. The other, I don't need a reason to hurt someone's feelings. And a lot of my religious experience is people using it as a reason, again, to exclude or to deprive people. You know, there was a one of one of the religious um, organizations that I like the least is the Salvation Army.
The
And
Salvation Army.
oh yeah,
The
they're
people that have the stores and sell
certainly
crap.
a force for evil.
Really?
Yes, I believe
Tell
that
me
in my
about it.
heart. So during the Depression, um, they had these soup kitchens,
Mhm.
and they would feed you, but they wouldn't feed you until after you listened to the sermon. And the sermon was how if you believed in God more, you wouldn't be so goddamn hungry. and God must not like you because you're living the wrong life, and that's why he's letting you starve. And it got to the point where people would rather go hungry than not go to the Salvation Army. And so, for instance,
That sounds harsh.
that's doing it wrong. Oh, they're not different today at all. At
I
all.
wouldn't doubt it, man. I don't trust big corporations, man.
They are
in either which way.
They are a corporate force for evil, if they're anything at all.
Yeah. So back to man, I'm still thinking about that guy that killed his kids.
We can talk about that. I don't recall his name. And I guess it doesn't matter.
Who cares? Yeah, he's garbage. So you said he did it because he thought that his wife was a lizard and the babies were lizard blood.
Had lizard DNA. Serpent seed line is.
He had to have believed that for sure.
Yes.
In order to kill his kids.
Yes.
And like he knew for sure, for a fact, that that's what in his mind. That's what he believed.
And that's what he said.
Okay, so
he said,
okay.
I know that you think this is wrong. I know that my children are dead now. He
probably thought he did a good thing.
To this day, he thinks he did a good.
He's alive?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he thinks he saved the earth.
You would think he would have offed himself,
No, that's suicide's a sin. He
Wait, hold on. But see, this is where I was going with the point. Is he in some kind of religion or something?
Yeah. So on the very far right of Christianity, you will find, like, you might consider yourself a right-wing Christian, but if you're not willing to kill your kids because they're reptiles, then there's people to the right of you.
Jesus Christ.
So
I guess you could take any religion and flip it, you can turn it into anything you want.
Absolutely. The argument that I make in the book, and again, it plays out over and over and over again, is these are the people with the most belief.
Right.
These are people who really thought that,
there were lizards.
Not only that there were lizards, but that the 9/11 attacks literally kicked off the apocalypse, and that 10 years later the world was going to end, and then it didn't. And then it kept not ending, and they lost faith in their more traditional churches.
Isn't Islam basically, they said that they're trying to bring on the end of the world too. That's why
everybody is
ensuing chaos and killing and murdering to bring the most craziest shit possible, to bring in the end times.
Yeah, there's a Zionist cabal that works with, and this is true, it works with a Christian organization, and they're trying to breed a naturally red cow. What? Because when I think it's red, when you breed this when that is the sign of the apocalypse. When they make this cow get born, that will kick off the apocalypse. Yeah, no, there are always religious people who are who feel like the apocalypse is not only imminent, but that they have a part in it. And that's a way better, that feels better. It feels better to believe that you're the catalyst for the apocalypse, rather than there's just some schmuck.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit by. I'm going to be the one who brings it in,
And what's interesting, as a Christian, you'll know that he keeps saying it over and over and over again, you'll never know the hour.
Yeah.
And then, people get to the book of Revelations and they're like, oh, it's in there somewhere. He's like, literally, I just said, you'll never know the hour.
Yeah.
I don't know what Revelations is for, but it's certainly not to give a clue, because I already gave you a clue. And the clue is I ain't telling, and you'll never know.
Exactly. A thief in the night.
And so this notion that the apocalypse is something worth studying always baffles me. It always seems kind of like one of the least Christian things you can do. Is to try to predict the apocalypse.
Oh, well, there's a difference between studying and trying to predict. I mean, you can study the word.
Oh yeah, but like to look for signs.
Well, it says in the Bible, look for signs, doesn't it?
It says you will not know the hour.
I know, but it also says look for the signs of the
Ah,
times.
that's a difficult proposition, isn't it? Who said look for the
Yeah,
signs? Was it Paul?
I don't remember.
It was.
Was it?
So-
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could like get a hint like, oh shoot, something might be coming as far as that, but maybe like I'm coming on the 31st of May. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
no,
it's
I don't believe there are end time signs, because I believe that if Christ was a real person who really said you will not know the hour, then he wouldn't have lied about that.
yeah.
And
Do you
so
think Christ existed?
I think that someone very much like him probably did, and this is stolen from stuff I've read. Um, so do you live in the town that you came from? Like,
Yes.
were you born there?
Yes.
Okay. I was born in New Jersey.
Mhm.
And when we took the census last year, I didn't have to go back to New Jersey to register. Like, who takes a census and says, all right, everybody go back to where you don't live anymore and fill out the census there? And of
Yeah.
course there's also, the Romans were notorious record keepers, and there's no record of a census. What's more likely than not is that there were stories attached um to to Jesus, to a popular prophet, and then they were kind of like squished together to retrofit into the Old Testament prophecies.
There's actually an old um Roman text that is non-biblical that talks about a man named Jesus. I think they said it in a different Jisu or something like
Right.
in that he's causing a lot of trouble in Israel and stuff like that. It
Well,
was
I
not,
don't.
yeah.
Again, I don't doubt that he was a prophet. I do.
Even Richard
Um,
Dawkins admits that Jesus existed.
I do wonder about the stories that fulfill Old Testament prophecies when they kind of don't line up with practical, thinking. Like the census
Don't
thing bothers me.
don't you think life is so strange though?
Yes, I
Don't you
think
think
life
this
is
space is insanely strange and just
absolutely.
so crazy, and consciousness is just the craziest thing, and we have no freaking clue how life started and why it started and why space is even a thing. Why is there just nothing? And all that stuff just kind of blows my mind. And the fact that we can't answer that is why I still have faith in God. If we could answer that, I would say, okay, we got the answer. There's no God. But
Well,
since the
I well, I mean, I wouldn't put I don't know if that I don't know if that's a compelling enough reason not to believe in God. Like, if we, so they say they can track back the Big Bang till, I don't know, whatever, 3/32 of a
13
second after, whatever, right?
13 billion years or something like that.
Right, but they don't know exactly what happened at the Big Bang, but they know what happened right after it. I
Yeah.
don't think that knowing what happened at the Big Bang means there's no God. I
Are
mean,
you means
I,
there is a God?
no, I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, I think there. I don't think that knowing everything could prove that there was no God. Knowing everything physical about the world. I mean, the point of God and the point of worship is to kind of celebrate our belief as a species. And belief is something that's well beyond proof. That's what it's for. And everything that we believe mostly because we want to, and that includes me,
yeah.
more particularly than anybody else, because I'm the one that's talking right now. you know
Yeah.
and so accepting that we believe mostly just whatever we want to believe, um then going forward from that, like, how should I behave? And that is a different question.
Yep.
And I don't think that what we're doing here is as interesting a question as what we should do given that we are here. You know, if you wake up on a desert island, look for food. You know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna
You're
sit
basically saying
around wondering how you got
let's
there.
just forget how we got here. Let's just do the best we can.
I don't know if knowing how we got here is going to help us be better given that we are here. You know, I mean, we know all sorts of things about evolution, but that doesn't make us nicer to each other.
Right.
You know.
So what happens when we die?
Oh, I don't believe anything happens when we die. I believe that we just cease. Um, you know,
Like before we were born, maybe?
no.
No?
There wasn't well, I don't think that there was an us before we were born. I don't believe in an eternal soul.
No, but I
So
mean, like, you know how you can't think about before we were born, you know, like a time where our minds didn't exist. Now that
I can't
we're,
think.
it's kind of like Pandora's box. Like once our consciousness is born, then there's no going back, you know?
Well, I mean, I don't remember. I don't remember much from before I was. I mean, I had experiences when I had experiences before I was one that I don't know about.
Yeah.
Um,
But that's what I mean. Like to the point to where we did not exist, will we return to that? The nothingness, ether of,
well,
it's hard to fathom or explain. You know what I mean?
well, it's not that we didn't exist. It was that like
You came out
existence.
of nothing. You
Well,
came out of one
well,
little
no, I'm
sperm
certainly no.
and
I came out of a chemical reaction. You know, just like fire. Like fire does not exist on my desk right now. That
uh-huh.
doesn't mean that there's a fire waiting to be on my
So in
desk.
that point, you've always existed since the dawn of time.
No, I came into existence like fire, and I'll go out of existence like
No,
fire.
no, because you were no, because you were a sperm
No,
in
I
your
wasn't.
father. Yes, you were. You were a sperm. What do
I
you
was
mean?
also an egg.
Okay, so you were a sperm and an egg, and then
No,
you go.
that's two things. I'm one thing now.
You were a
I
sperm,
was
and then
I
you got.
wasn't I wasn't even potential. I
Yeah,
was
but my point is, it goes back to this. This phone will never go away. It will exist until and for eternity. You could crush this phone. You could destroy it. You could throw it in the sun. You could destroy it in a quadrillion, bazillion pieces, and it still will not go away. You
I mean, no,
cannot
I'm
destroy
sorry.
anything.
Yeah, I believe in atoms and energy, but
Yeah,
I
that's what
don't.
I mean. You were always you have been alive in one form or another since the dawn of time.
Well, I again, my strong belief is that I'm an accident of consciousness, and the only me that exists is the conscious me, and won't it will cease. It didn't exist before I was conscious, and it won't continue to exist after I was conscious. Um, I actually read a really cool article today about and I didn't find the source article, so that's always problematic. But apparently there's some evidence that you're conscious for long enough after you die to know that you are dead. And
Whoa.
I thought that was amusing. I don't
So
know.
what
I
does
know
that
exactly
mean?
what my last thought is going to be.
What?
Uh, OF, you know.
When you see God, oh fuck.
Well, I don't think that's going to happen. It's not.
What
It's
if it did, Tony? What would you
I.
say? What would you say to God if you died and it was all real, and Jesus Christ walked up to you, Tony, and said, "Tony, well, Elijah tried to tell you, and a couple guys tried to tell you."
I'd say, what was the deal with Paul? Was he on your side or on the devil's side? Who's Paul working for? Yeah, no, I don't have any. I don't have any questions for God. I'm sure he doesn't have very many for me either. So
Yeah, I've come to the notion that good people are good people, and you don't have to be a Christian to be a nice, caring person, you know. But I think when it comes to beliefs, it comes down to the soul. Regardless if people believe in it or not, if it is real, I think that religion is the one thing that takes care of your soul, you know. And it says in the Bible, don't fear man that can destroy your body, but fear the one who can destroy your soul. And I've always liked that verse, and it's always
Yeah.
kind of freaked me out, you know, because like, let's say I die, oh shoot, I have a eternal soul. I'm worried about the one that can destroy that, you know, the second death.
Yes, and I don't want to take away from that. So
Yeah,
I think that's a beautiful thought, and I
yeah.
agree with it.
Hmm.
But now this is a point where it would be irresponsible of me to point out that that's exactly what the lizard guy was thinking when he killed his children.
But are you worried that the lizard belief is going to blow up like Christianity? I mean, millions and millions and millions of people. I mean, that's such a small
No,
sect of
so
crazy, you
I
know.
worry I worry about, and this is why I don't espouse the whole as long as you're not hurting anybody thing. I worry about a culture where we can all make up our own reality, because
But can you
we're
stop that?
starting. I'm sorry.
Can we stop that? I don't think we can.
Well, ought we try? Probably. I mean, one
Was
of
the
the
lizard guy Christian?
yeah.
Well, I
Oh,
mean,
that's what we were talking about before. They're
do we
all
read the same book? Does he read
yeah.
the Christian Bible?
Well, and I'm sure he reads the Gnostic Bible as well.
What's
You
the
know,
Gnostic Bible?
those were the so as I'm sure you know, but I don't know if your listeners know.
Uh-huh.
The Bible was kind of compiled via a like they had a meeting, and they're like, okay, what are we going to put in? What are we going to take out?
Yeah,
And so they took out
Enoch,
that they
right?
took out stories that they didn't think quite fit, and they
Hmm.
left in stories that they did think fit.
Hmm.
And so again, true Christians, people who call themselves true Christians, who don't
Hmm.
believe in Paul or don't believe in any of that, go to the books of the Bible that they claim, written out by Paul's people, for more truth, about what God wanted. The Book of Mary Magdalene is
Yeah.
one. And those are, again, arguably fine beliefs. Um, but the fact that we let religious belief enter the public sphere is only going to cause conflict. And there's no way around that, because religious belief not only is complex, but it's also contradictory. Like a Catholic person versus a Episcopalian person versus a Lutheran versus a Baptist versus an ecumenical
But they're not
versus
at war. I mean,
not since the late 80s anyway.
I mean, if it,
I
I mean,
mean,
there's no
not
doubt. I mean, we've
not
had
at,
religious wars
yeah, not at war right now is
right
probably
now.
the only thing you
Have you
can
seen
say.
Have you seen
Go
that
ahead.
South Park episode where it's like, you know what South Park is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
cartoon.
Yes.
It's like, you got to see it. It's like 1,000 years into the future, everyone's atheists, right?
And I saw that, and
Yeah,
they're fighting over whether the name of
yeah.
atheism.
It's Atheist Alliance. No, it's Atheist United
Yes,
Alliance.
absolutely. It's
And
there
so
are
that's a
always going to
great
be
point. You
people.
know, that's
Yeah, always going to be
great.
people who want to
There's
push their
We're
beliefs.
always gonna be fighting over who's right, who's wrong, what should we do. You know what I mean? No matter what, really.
Yeah, and so I think the best we can do is, again, try to not be mean, not
I
try
agree.
to not
That
partake in the
that part we
meanness.
can agree on for sure.
Awesome.
Well, that's a good ending right there, Tony. Almost about an hour and a half.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, man. That was a lot of fun. You know your stuff. I like talking to you. I think we need to. I need to. We need to talk to people that don't have the same beliefs as each other, and it's good to just.
I've been on
Yeah.
a witch podcast too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we talked about orgone power, which is a
Oh,
whole other thing.
yeah. We can. There's a lot. There's so much stuff we can talk about. I'd like to have you on again, man, and we can go deeper on all kinds
Absolutely.
of stuff, man.
We'll go through Hitler and the guns.
Oh yes, please. Yeah, I like tech in World War II, man. I'm very interested in Mao Zedong and the mass murder of people, and they were getting rid of religion too, they had the Cultural Revolution and, all that stuff. They got rid of all the religions, worship the state, instead. And millions died. So I guess we're just totally screwed, man, as a human race.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. That's why I think, just be nice and have fun.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Okay, Tony, man. Thank you so much, man. I
Absolute
appreciate it.
pleasure.
I'll talk to you again. Thanks.
Good day.
Bye.
Bye.